Hi, my name is Matt Leggett. I help to run Osborne Clark's regeneration team. We're running this session today to look at joint ventures and how they can be used to drive an ESG agenda. We're looking specifically at the G in ESG, which is good governance, which is an element that's often overlooked and is particularly important for joint ventures. I'm joined today by Rebecca from our corporate real estate team, who's going to help us to look at how some joint venture documentation can help to drive this agenda and deal with some of these issues. So Rebecca, you're in our corporate real estate team. What kind of regeneration work do your team get involved in?
So we act for regen clients on a number of different things. We primarily act for them on share acquisitions and share sales of companies that hold sites that clients would like to regenerate, for example, town centres. We also act with our regen clients in relation to joint ventures, so where clients would like to share risk and share expertise between them. As part of this work, we often help them decide which way is the most efficient way for them to structure their projects. And again, where clients have long-term projects or are perhaps a bit more complex or have a public sector element, we find that joint ventures are a common structure for delivery.
So for complex schemes, the smooth running of the joint venture itself must be particularly important to ensure the success of the project, both economically, but also if there are political elements that need to be considered. How do parties to the joint venture appoint representatives to the board, and what should they think about?
Parties should think about how many board representatives they want and also the skills that those board representatives should have. A large board can offer a diverse range of experience and opinion, which is useful to a JV, but it can also mean that decisions take a long time to take, which can hinder the day-to-day running of a JV sometimes. Alternatively, parties sometimes like to appoint individuals with specific expertise, which is useful for the particular JV. This can mean that those particular individuals can solely focus on running the day-to-day JV themselves, but it can mean that sometimes it takes a long time to appoint those individuals to the board. As a compromise position, we're often seeing that clients want to appoint subcommittees to their JV boards which focus on a specific area of expertise. So, for example, it's quite common now to have a planning subcommittee to a JV board.
And presumably the board representatives are also employees or directors of the individual JV parties themselves.
Yes, it's very common that actually all of the JV board representatives are affiliated with a JV partner.
Okay, so in that case, what about conflicts? What do board representatives do when they're wearing different hats and conflicts emerge?
Yeah, so the main thing with conflicts is that the JV documentation needs to be really clear in this regard. So there are a number of different solutions in relation to conflicts. First of all, a conflicted board representative might be able to attend a meeting but not be able to vote. It might be that they're not able to attend the meeting and not able to vote. But again, as a compromise position, you might have a JV representative who is able to vote because the non-conflicted party approves that conflict.
And turning away from governance for a moment and focusing on the E and the S in ESG, what can be built into the joint venture documents themselves in order to ensure those other ESG objectives are delivered?
So parties might want to build in specific E and S objectives into the JV agreement themselves. A common way for doing this is to make certain matters reserved matters. These are matters that require the unanimous consent of all parties in order to do anything in relation to them. This can be a really valuable protection for a minority JV partner who perhaps wants to protect a specific E or S objective or make sure that a JV is having a positive impact on the community and the people that that community serves. Another thing that we commonly see is incorporating specific objectives into the JV's business plan itself. As a recommendation, we normally suggest that a JV's business plan is updated on an annual basis, which allows it to have enough flexibility to develop and progress as the JV also progresses, the JV project also progresses. As a third option, we are seeing that parties want to incorporate their different policies into the JV agreement themselves, whether it be the modern slavery policy, anti-bribery and corruption, or perhaps tax evasion. We can also incorporate a specific requirement for the JV partners to share their existing policies with each other. And we find that this can encourage compliance, because where you have an express provision in the agreement, a material breach of such provision may amount to an event of default under the agreement. And then finally, parties need to look at, or might want to look at, their different reporting requirements. If they have a particular E or S objective that they're trying to achieve elsewhere in the group, it makes sense for the JV entity to also try to achieve that objective and then have the same reporting obligations on it to report back to the particular JV partner.
So ultimately, it sounds really important to think about these kind of things up front, so that we can build a vision for environmental, social and governance sustainability into the joint venture documentation itself at the start, and then protect it and ensure its delivery with good governance procedures and policies which are followed.
Yes, absolutely.
So hopefully that gave some helpful things to think about when looking at joint ventures, and in particular around governance. Do look out for other OC Regen videos.